Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County for Wednesday, March 14th, 2018. I'm the Nighthawk, along with our studio director, the executive director of Channel 15/16, Miss Elizabeth Malone. And on the panel this week, to my immediate right, my pal, the Duke.
Yeah.
And on my far right will be Dave Handy. I just heard the doorbell ring. So Elizabeth will go let him in. So while we wait for David, and I was going to ask the obvious weather question. Last night, Duke, I'm watching the 11 o'clock news. And a guy I like a lot, Dan Dowling, the meteorologist for Channel 3, very solid guy.
Yeah.
And he was giving snowfall totals as of 11 o'clock last night. St. Albans had 4 inches. East Barrie had 20 inches at that time.
Oh, really?
Now, of course, we're 21 hours later. Do have
about a foot. I thought they did a pretty decent job. I think for Champlain Valley, most of those guys were talking 6 to 12. I measured about 8 inches this morning when I headed east for a while, came back to another 4. I'd say I'm comfortable saying we got about a solid foot in St. Albans. So I think the forecasts were pretty good. Again, in nor'easter, we're always on kind of the edge of it. And what's interesting, a lot of times, it's kind of, you're reading about the coast. Boy, my sister pounded again for the 3rd time in, 11 days?
So give me a snowfall total.
Boston, I think, officially about 15 inches. Providence, the same. I think Portland more. Manchester, New Hampshire, I think about 2 feet. Highest accumulation in Massachusetts, I forget the town, 29.5. Worcester had, I think, about 21. Maybe Worcester's second highest on record even. So some pretty impressive snow. I mentioned Portland. I think Portland was up around 15 to 20. We're talking a lot of snow. Some places in Rhode Island, again, 15 to 20 inches. Eastern Connecticut, the same. So we're talking big-time snowstorm.
And you mentioned to me before we went on the air that you did more snow shoveling today than you can ever remember.
Well, for a while. I mean, I shoveled my driveway, which takes
You've got a slanted
I've got enough of an incline that... And when I backed in at about 7 o'clock, I couldn't get out. So there I was shoveling out my driveway again. And 1906 house got a lot of my attention in the Berg Falls. Yeah, I was probably shoveling for a good 3 hours today.
Yeah. And, of course, we will be hitting 7 o'clock, tomorrow night, the night after?
I didn't.
Sunset?
Yeah, we're certainly very close. Yeah, I was at Kilcare a few nights ago, and even there was a sliver of orange above the western horizon at 7:30 even. Okay. Great scene at Kilcare. If you like geese, there's an open swath of water between Kilcare and Mosquito Island, and geese have been I had to almost duck a couple times. These guys have been coming in droves, just loving. They tend to hang on the ice right next to the open water, but of course land in the water. But it's a great geese scene at Kilcare these days.
When do we see Canada geese coming back home?
Thank you for your reference to Canada geese.
Not Canadian geese. Canada.
No, not Canadian.
But of course, all the time in October on the golf course, we see droves of geese flying. I think down in the Carolinas is where they winter.
Yeah, probably. So again, I'm seeing a lot of geese at Kilcare at this point. I assume these guys have come up from the Southland, I guess. I've seen a few V's and stuff,
yeah.
But it sounds like we're running into not only legit snow. This has been a pretty impressive wintry month, but it sounds like after tomorrow we're talking 4 or 5 days in the 20s with highs. Sounds like we're back to midwinter temps for a while. So again, we may, if these guys are smart, they might want to hang south for a bit more.
Yeah, I think the normal daytime high for the state is 38 degrees.
That's about right. Yeah, we're talking, again, forecast has highs in the low to mid-20s for about 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
And official spring for the record next Tuesday, 6 days away, early afternoon. But again, for what that's worth.
So, Duke, I'm going to start with basketball, even though I'm going to say to you guys, Happy New Year. That's why I'm wearing my New York Giant garb, because the NFL New Year started today at 4. However, I want to tell you something. I'm watching UVM basketball, the 11 o'clock morning game.
Painful game.
And I DVR it so I don't, again, have to listen to the commercials and watch halftime. And there a shot of the crowd. And I say, I think I know this guy. I rewind, and I said, my God, that looks like David Handy. And I, stare, I said, looks like Dave. So
Not in Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
no, I'm talking.
in,
I'm talking about the
Burlington.
Patrick Gym. So
Patrick
now,
Gym.
David, though that you're here,
Oh, for the championship game?
am I old and blind, or was that in fact
You were acutely aware of Channel 15's roving reporter
Really?
there at the game. I managed to get a couple tickets from,
We're talking UVM UMBC now.
yes, from my cousins,
Wow.
who happen to be a big sponsor for UVM.
Yeah.
Huh.
And,
pretty sharp eye, wasn't it?
well, you aren't the first one to mention it.
Oh, really?
I've had a couple other people say,
Okay.
"Oh, I saw you at the game." I will tell you that was not the best seat in the house, because the two guys in front of us were both about 7 feet tall,
Oh, is that right?
and then the guy in the back was drunk and obnoxious and puked.
Oh, not on you, I hope.
Yeah, a little bit,
Is that right?
but at least it shut him up on the second
Is
half.
this obviously drunk?
Oh, yeah.
At 11 o'clock in the morning?
Well, hey, college kids.
Oh, was it a college kid?
We were right next to the college, right next to the
Wow.
UVM band.
Okay,
Really?
yeah.
Let's see, what can I tell you about that game?
Well, I can start. What a pathetic effort, and I place the blame on Trey Bell Haynes. And if
he
that
played
guy,
an awful game.
and he's gotten all kinds of accolades, and he's been the conference player of the year for the last 2 years. And you asked me, Hawk, any chance of him being drafted? I said no, but he will get an invite to a pro preseason. But he
Euro
was
probably?
terrible,
Yeah.
and it was even worse last night, which we'll get into in a few minutes. But I, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, my excitement level to watch the game was maybe a 3, just because I knew it was going to be a UVM blowout. They beat them by 28 points earlier
Why
in the
do
year.
you? I mean, how many
Because
Super Bowls 2 years ago?
I'm a
does
lover-
it take for you not to assume anything?
I'm a lover of history, and I analyze history, and I dissect the numbers, and I said, what the heck? I'm recording it. It's in high def. I'm not crammed in the Patrick Gym. I'm in my king-size bed. My electric blanket's on 4, and baby, am I comfortable, and I'm going to watch it. Whole hum, whatever. So even when Trey Bell Haynes missed with 25 seconds to go, Baltimore brought the
missed terrible possession.
brought the
well,
ball.
they had 8.5 minutes of terrible possession.
Yeah.
Same-
No field goal in what, the last 8.5 minutes?
So
Yeah.
Baltimore brings the ball down, and I said, no big deal. We'll defend it. We'll play overtime,
Leave it
and
overtime.
it'll just be a lot more stinging pain for Baltimore. A lot longer ride home.
Yeah.
And this guy, Lyles, who probably will be drafted from Baltimore.
He looked pretty good.
Just nice vertical leap. Barely touched the net. Was so perfect through there.
Talk about
So
composed. It looked like he didn't have a care in the world.
with a half
we
second
get
left.
down to a
So
couple
David,
seconds.
and again, knowing that you were there, what was the atmosphere like the last 8 minutes when you were throwing bricks up the whole time?
Well, the game, the first thing I'd like to tell you is that the difference between just the appearance of the UVM guys versus the UMBC guys
Yeah.
before the game started.
Yeah.
The UVM guys, all clean cut, no tattoos,
Really.
decent haircuts. They all are the kind of guys you wouldn't mind if your daughter brought home.
Huh.
The UMBC guys, starting with the point guard, the little number 4 or whatever
yeah,
his
with
name
a
was.
headband and this hair.
He was
sticking out.
from Puerto Rico. He looked like a gangbanger from the word go.
Hopefully they're not watching.
Well, I don't think we got to worry about UMBC tapping into our lines here.
Although they can watch us on Facebook.
And then on top of that, number 10, who was really, really good. I had never heard of him, but he was super. He was great. And 15 for them. And these guys are all tatted up, and even our white guys look like they've got the whatever kind of ponytail you got. And they look like a rough crowd. But what you probably didn't see on TV is every time that little point guard made a basket, he made a 3, he did one of these things.
Oh, yeah.
He did one of these things. And they were all the kind of guys you would just want. But they were cocky, and they were good. And where UVM,
And probably not feeling a lot of pride. I mean,
they had nothing. They had
Right.
nothing.
They
to
were
gain.
playing with monopoly money. Like I said,
Exactly.
UVM beat them by 28, and I think the other
Did they
game might have
really?
been 21.
Is that right? They beat them that badly?
Duke, it was a nothing game. It was a waste.
Yeah, but they weren't a bad team. They were
They're
24
not a
and
bad
10.
team. They're not a bad team.
24 and
Sounds
10
like maybe-
record.
Sounds like those are probably their two worst games of the year.
And
UVM did they look a little tight at all? Or no?
yeah, they look tight.
Did they?
Trey Bell Haynes missed a whole pile of foul shots, especially both halves.
Wow.
And I think, and I was listening a little bit after the game, they were talking to somebody. One of the guys said, and I thought this was very insightful, every UVM, their offense was almost all year. Trey Bell Haynes would go in and either dish it back out, somebody get an open three, or like I went to the Stony Brook game. They would do a pick and roll with either 35 or 25
Urquhart
or
Henson.
And they would get nice easy layups.
Yeah.
These guys figured out whatever UVM did, and they jumped in, and they really played the three, because every time, if you remember, when Bell Haynes would bring the ball up, and then the ball would come out to the outside guy at the three, they never could take a shot. They always had to dribble to find a shot, and then, of course, they never took it.
Yeah.
And if you're going to blame anybody, I think the guy you got to blame a little bit was their coach
I was going to say the coach didn't.
for not figuring out how to get these guys better shots.
And David, at the midpoint, 10 minutes to go in the second half, we were up by 9 points. And I said, okay, here we go. Because Duke popped into my house Sunday. We talked a little bit about it. I had a client, I said, I literally would have bet $10,000 and given 12
Right.
points
Glad you
on the
didn't do
game.
that.
And he told me the actual official spread was 13 points on
Oh, is that right?
on the game. But this has to be the worst loss in the history of UVM because now,
history of UVM?
yes, basketball program because now. I've got the brackets here.
Where do you put last night's then?
Oh, well, we'll talk about that.
UMB was
UNBC, I've got the bracket right here. UVM was touted at getting at least a 13th seed. And I'm positive at least they would have gotten a 13. Now, UNBC,
The reward.
how
of course, to play the
respected they are,
Cavaliers.
they are playing the number one team
overall number
in the
one seed,
country
Virginia.
who
Virginia.
Duke likes a lot. He says
Unfortunately for Virginia, and I did punch up some sports, they lost one of their key guys to an injury. Anyway, but yeah, Virginia, the overall number one seed.
So, David, and you're right, that's the point I was going to bring up. Becker actually had to do some real coaching, and I think he's a great coach, and he always has these kids ready. They're very professional acting, blah, blah, blah. However, they
just didn't have this figured out, and you could tell by the crowd. The crowd was so amped up.
All right.
And both in the first half and the second half, because both times in the first half and the second half, they got ahead by 9 points. And when they make a basket, they really get all jacked up. But then, just when you think they're going to pull away,
Yeah.
one of those idiots from UMBC would make a basket themselves, mostly 10, Troyles or Lyles or whatever his name was, or somebody else. And even in the second half, when I think it was one of the brothers made that nice layup, that Duncan made a nice layup. It's a three-point play. Of course, he missed the foul shot.
Yeah.
And I remember telling Kevin.
Who'd you go with?
Kevin Manahan.
Okay.
Oh, really?
I told him, I said, look, if this game gets close, they're going to wish they had these foul shots.
Yeah.
This was with 8 minutes to go because I barely don't think they were 50%.
And David, I may be
and they never hit another.
never made another basket.
I think UVM is actually the best free throw shooting team in the conference.
Really?
And they didn't. Trey Bell Haynes could barely make. That guy played awful. That was his worst game.
You think they did they got tight. That was part of it. I
Plus,
guess, huh?
you know what? I don't know if you could see it on TV, but early in the game, I think Henson and Urquhart or Henson and
Lamb?
Not Lamb. They hit head on. They hit a headbutt.
Oh, really?
And I don't think those guys were right
Really?
after. And because one of them, they took to the off the court for about 10 minutes.
Yep.
And the other thing that really, really stinks, is with these TV timeouts every 4 minutes,
Yep.
especially in UVM would get on a roll,
Yep.
and then they'd have that timeout,
Absolutely.
and then it just
I couldn't agree
stop
with you
them
more.
cold.
Couldn't agree
Colder
with
than a cucumber.
It's terrible. Now, David, couple questions. Describe to me the great comfort level you and Kevin enjoyed at the Patrick Gym.
Oh, it was awful.
Wasn't that?
The seats are terrible. But I got to tell you something. The most important thing, of course, I'm really a fair weather fan. Hey, I've been to 3 UVM basketball games, or 4, in the last 12 years.
And guess what? That's probably about 3 more than
And the 2 I went to the last 2 they had.
Right.
And the previous 2 I went to were their playoff games in Worcester. One when they beat Syracuse, and the other one when they lost to Michigan State.
Wow.
So you can't say I'm a diehard fan.
You were at that Syracuse game?
I certainly was.
Oh, wow.
What,
I
12
forgot
years
that.
ago?
And we were about 5 rows from center
Oh,
court.
I did not know that.
That was in Worcester?
That was in Worcester.
Okay. And also, tell me about the
that's
crowd,
impressive.
the atmosphere.
Crowd
When-
was juiced up.
But when that Lyles got that shot in with a half-second left.
You knew when things really started going, that last 3 or 4 minutes,
Yeah.
the crowd was silent.
Wow.
And you could just feel them. It just stopped. They could smell something bad happening.
I saw almost none of that game on TV. I had my buddy Alex that day, and I brought him back to Milton, so I listened to most of the game on radio. I got back at my house in time for the last minute or so, but I wasn't getting a good feeling, obviously,
Could just
on radio.
there was something in here. Now I will tell you something that I've not seen in a long time. I hope none of our viewers, all 12 or 13 of you,
Hey, come on.
are watching. Have any of your kids on the UVM dance team or cheerleaders? But the UMBC dance team and cheerleaders, they were good.
All right.
Yeah.
And I
So a
mean,
dance team and cheerleaders?
yeah, they all worked
Different
they
year?
worked in tandem.
Huh.
And then they had a routine where they had the dog, because they're the golden retrievers
Oh,
or
okay.
the whatever the hell they are.
Retrievers.
The retrievers.
Yep.
And the dog, the guy in the dog outfit, could he dance?
Okay.
All right.
And they did this whole thing. And you've never seen, because when Stony Brook was there, after their cheer team got out there, yeah, maybe one clap.
Well,
The cheering for the UMBC cheer team, especially after they'd had the dog, was incredible. It was crazy.
Really?
Because UMBC, their girls really had it.
huh.
Now,
Where is UMBC? It's obviously around. Where is it exactly? Is it probably not in
Maryland, Baltimore County.
I heard the
assume it's
town,
around
and I don't
I was
remember.
thinking Towson, but Towson State's here. Probably
Let
not
me
Towson.
guess. You don't have your tweet machine.
No,
with
I
it.
don't.
You
I
never
assume
bring
I
it.
assume it's around Baltimore
Well,
somewhere.
and there weren't a lot of their fans there, but their band was there, and their band was good.
Why should they go?
They brought those guys
They
up. That's
brought their band,
impressive.
and I'm going to tell you something that I was mentioning to Mr. Manahan. The America East is running this thing about on the screen underneath the scorekeepers, respect and all that. With all of the crap, the NCAA is so full of crap and such a bunch of phony balonies. With all the crap about there with women's rights and women not being sex objects, these colleges with these dance teams,
Thank you.
they have these
Thank
girls
you.
go out there, they're wearing nothing but bikinis.
Duke, let me interrupt you. We went down to a Celtic game a few years ago, and the Celtic dance team shorts were about this.
Weren't the Celtics the last team
They were.
to go that
Yes.
route? But they, of
And
course,
their
they did.
tops. I mean, and again,
And the dancing,
I don't mind looking at, but not during sport.
hey, I don't
And that's
mind.
right, I agree with you.
And then the dancing is glorified pole dancing.
Yeah.
Really?
They're just shaking what they got, and it's
Yeah.
it's totally for the entertainment of the male of the species.
Yeah, I hear you.
And that to me, I wouldn't want one of my girls
Yep.
doing that.
Yeah, I hear you.
That whole dance, it's just shake, it's stripper pole dancing.
Yeah.
Is all that it is. And to me, it's crap.
Yep, I hear you. So I'm going to advance the story 24
tough
hours
loss.
later. So Duke comes over to my house and basically said, tough loss, Huck. And I said, well, Duke, I'm a big picture kind of guy.
Oh, that's right. You were. Hawk was saying, "Hey, NIT is probably a better
And I said,
fit anyway."
UVM's a mid-major. We don't belong with the big boys like this. We are who we are. I said, we belong in the NIT. We actually have a chance to win some games there.
Make some noise in the
So-
NIT.
Lo and behold, this NIT tournament, according to the experts, is the strongest field in many
Not a bad
many
tourney.
years. Really good teams. So Mid Tennessee got, and they're a great team. They were upset during their conference.
Just
play.
like UVM
UVM
was.
Yeah, and so they were there. Well, Mid Tennessee, of course, won last night, and they're going to be playing Louisville in the second round. Louisville was playing pretty well until
Of course, they threw out my good friend Coach Pitino with the latest scandal.
and the whole 9 yards. But St. Mary's is a good team. Notre Dame's a good team.
The game on right now. Again, a couple
Baylor's
of
a
former
good
Duke
team.
coaches, Marquette, Harvard, couple of
Yeah.
decent teams.
So I said, yeah, that's fine. So I don't
Notre
know
Dame.
what the spread was, but I'll tell you what. Shame on UVM.
I think the spread was 6. I think it was 6 points.
The tens of thousands of dollars they spent to go to Tennessee to play.
Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
They were going through the motions.
They laid an egg.
Okay.
That was
the effort was not there. The kids were still upset from the.
Did you ever see so many wide open layups?
They went on a run, Mid Tennessee. They were up
18.
by
How about an 18-0 run there?
It was that,
they had won
yeah.
the game anyway. Then an
and I'm
18-0
watching
run.
it. It said
I couldn't watch it. I started paying bills. I had the TV on
Yeah.
in the next
just
room.
lack
I
of effort,
couldn't
and I'm
watch it
putting
for a
that on
while.
Becker too. That's his job to make these kids have amnesia and say, forget about it. Let's beat Mid Tennessee. We're going to be playing Louisville.
Perhaps ironically, Becker, listening to the radio guys, like I said, I listen to most of the EVM UMBC game on radio. Those guys pretty much were thinking that Becker's gone, so to a bigger job. Are you hearing anything at this point?
I have not,
Of course,
but
his last game might not have helped him, but they were thinking likelier than not he's out of here.
Was the same-
Especially with his seniors. This is his big
6
senior
seniors,
team.
yeah.
Why, if he's got a better job coming up.
When Tom Brennan resigned, it was a senior-laden club. And I said, Tom, if you're going to retire, this is the time. But wasn't it St. Bonaventure that offered Becker the job last year?
Was it really?
And he
Not
turned
sure.
it down.
Oh, really?
We were,
Bonnie's a big
But
win
he's
last
getting
night.
a brand new arena next year.
Well, his
And he made a lot of noise about that.
Oh, sure did.
if you go on the UVM website, his job is paid by the trust.
Boosters or something?
No, Robert Chaffee and his wife, they have a trust.
Oh, really?
And I suspect that had he won, he probably would have been in line for maybe $500,000 a year from UVM.
From UVM.
And he's still maybe. That's just my guess.
What do you think-
Because
what-
that's a going rate for
What do you
those
think
guys.
he's getting now? Like
quarter
$40
million,
mil?
3. He's
300
getting
or so?
3.
And you know what? Whatever somebody else offers him, they ought to pay it.
Okay.
The guy's had a super record.
Okay, so do the math. Coach K in Duke is the highest paid at $9 million. Divide 300,000 into that. That's what, 30 times
30
more?
times or so.
Yeah.
No, Becker deserves, and if it were me and I were him, because I think the salaries for these coaches is going right through the roof. And but you take UVM, I was saying I wouldn't be surprised if he's the highest paid government employee if you count UVM as part of our state government.
in Vermont.
In Vermont.
Probably.
Reminds me of a story.
Kevin Sneddon's probably number 2.
And Sneddon doesn't deserve it. Sneddon, they should have can't.
Right. That reminds me of a story maybe a decade ago. Jim Calhoun was the highest paid. That was brought up. You're the highest paid stadium employee in the state of Connecticut. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I should be, right?
His answer was, how many games has the governor won?
And when these guys are getting $5-10 million, and he's pretty good. He's done a good job at UVM. He deserves to be.
If he has aspirations to go on, just the opposite. Tom Brennan was happy. Tom Brennan literally could have ran for governor, and I would have bet you any amount of money he would have won.
Could be.
He was happy. He was offered his alma mater, Georgia. He could have been the Bulldog head coach if he wanted it. Yeah.
So I think he could have or should. I think he should if he wants to stay. And you know what? The quality of life in Burlington, Vermont is a hell of a lot better than it is somewhere else. Now, Vermont's not a cheap state to live in. That's the one drawback. But by the time you add the sneaker contracts and the other stuff,
he's probably living pretty well.
Hey, David, have you ever been to Baltimore?
Baltimore's the pits.
Oh, so the aforementioned Baltimore school we were talking about, Burlington versus Baltimore, it's going to have to be a heck of a lot more money.
You know Baltimore's nickname? The Charm City.
Oh, really?
Of course, our old friend Stat guy, of course, is a Baltimore town. He might be upset at your comment.
He went to Johns Hopkins.
Talk about one of our great colleges.
Now,
Baltimore's got some.
Oh, they got the Inner Harbor is nice.
I've been to the Inner Harbor. It's a great place.
I've got a friend who lives in the Inner Harbor.
Great place.
Fells something.
So I did remember
nice.
this week to bring my conference rankings.
Oh, yeah.
And I can tell you right now, take a guess where UVM is ranked.
Two from the bottom, like 30th.
No, I'm talking UVM, the school itself. The basketball team is ranked.
I'm sorry, the basketball team? This was
updated as of today.
If Mid-Tennessee State was 33 and they didn't get it,
I'd guess
Vermont
40,
probably was about 45 or
40
50.
to 45 to 50.
They're 63.
Oh, really? A little lower than I thought.
Mid-Tennessee, as of today, is ranked 31st.
You know who should have got in was Syracuse. I can't believe they got in.
I can't believe they got in. Of course, they're playing tonight in the late play-in game against Arizona State, coached by Bobby Hurley.
You're the basketball expert on the panel.
Hardly.
Give me the top-ranked 3 conferences in the country.
Well,
in order.
ACC, obviously.
No.
Big 12.
Big 12 is ranked 1.
ACC is not top 3?
They're ranked 3rd.
ACC, for the record, either set or tied a record with 9 teams getting into
Big 10.
Big East is 2nd.
Wow.
Oh, is that right?
ACC 3rd, SEC, Pac-12 is 5th.
Now, is Boise State still in the Big East?
Oh, I've lost track of the Big East.
Now, that shows you the craziness of college basketball.
Oh, yeah. It's insane. It's money, yeah, it's obviously.
No, dude, I don't partake in doing the brackets, but...
I don't even do them. I don't do them.
I know you were mentioning me that you really like Virginia. Is that your odds-on favorite to win?
Again, I'm put off. They lost one of their key guys, apparently. I can't even give you his name, but... no, I would hardly say odds-on. I think any of the top. The Dukies probably have as much talent as anybody.
Well, they're my team in the pool that I picked.
Is that right? They haven't been playing. Actually, Coach K, show you how upset he was with their defense, as he should have been. They went over to a zone about a month ago and have been playing pretty good defense. Although they go into offensive droughts. And again, Hawk, as you remind me every week, not that you have to. Outside of Grayson Allen, pretty much, it's all very good freshmen, but they're freshmen.
Yeah.
No, I'd say any of your 1-2 seeds anyway could win. There's no odds on. Had Virginia not lost that guy, I would have had a pretty good feeling about them. But
now, David, do you have a TV in your office? I don't remember if you do.
No,
but okay,
we have a TV in the lounge, but not.
My question is, both you guys, is how much viewing time do you guys spend Thursday and Friday?
No, I don't spend. I got a life. I haven't worked. Thursday's a working day. I got my boy Alex tomorrow, but the Duke game's on mid-afternoon. I'll probably watch some of it. I don't watch a ton of basketball.
Had UVM gotten in, I might have even gone to the games.
Yeah.
Because the guys that I got the tickets from, before Pontiac used to be a big sponsor for the NCAA, and now Buick is. The guys that I got the tickets from, to go see him play Syracuse a couple years ago. Oh, well, it's what, 12 years ago
13,
now.
yeah.
11 or 12.
He's still with the ad agency that handles. So I had asked him like last year. I said, "Hey, if I want tickets to go see UVM play, can I get them?" He goes, "Oh yeah, we're still," and those were good.
Really?
But
So, Duke, my final question on basketball:
I think
Are you
there are a
happy?
bunch of teams who could
Are you
win it.
happy with the bracket Duke is in? They're number
No,
2.
no,
Kansas is the first-ranked team.
I mean, not especially. Michigan State's, number 3 seed. I think Jay Billis said they should have been a number 1 seed. That's who the Dukies would play if they if they survive the first weekend. Duke's track record is a number 2 seed. Not good. I think I mentioned last week. I think it was as a number 2 seed. They lost to Lehigh and Mercer, maybe 2 out of 3 years. As a number 1 seed, they tend to hang around pretty well. I trust they'll beat Iona tomorrow afternoon. But boy, the next game, Rhode Island, they play the winner, assuming they beat Iona, of Rhode Island, Oklahoma. Oklahoma with the huge star in college basketball, Trey, whoever that guy is.
Trey, he's a gunner.
I think Rhode Island's a better team. Interesting. Rhode Island, coached by Bobby Hurley's brother, Danny Hurley.
Oh, okay.
But that's no easy game. Hey, who knows?
Now
I think it's so hard to
This
predict.
is the longest we've ever spent in college basketball, 32 minutes.
But it's good if you can get away from just the huge buckos and all the scandals.
Oh, it's fun.
All legitimate stuff. The tournament itself is still pretty fun. They get it done in a few weeks.
I got to
That's
change the subject because I
am
know
changing the subject.
before we get to either football or baseball.
Mike, can I say one thing before you go? Because I know both you guys love the movie Our Finest Hour. Was that the name of it?
Yes.
About Churchill?
Darkest Hour.
The Darkest Hour.
Darkest Hour.
Well, there were 2 Winston Churchill movies last year. The second one is out on Stars
Second one stinks.
with Brian Cox
is
playing
that right?
Churchill. Did you see the second
I
one?
saw the second
I guess
one,
I
too.
heard that wasn't very good.
It's not very good,
Okay.
and it's.
I just
and
want to
it's
let
got
you
a
know
lot of,
before I forget.
it plays Winston like he's a weak and it's got.
Oh.
It's really awful.
Tell
Okay,
that-
go
tell
ahead,
that to
David.
Adolf.
The other thing
The microphone's yours.
The other thing I was going to tell you about, I also was Channel 15's representative last
Want a
night.
little more water? I'll give you some of this. I haven't touched it yet.
I was there at the BFA Essex girls hockey game,
How about those Comets?
which was a great game. And
There we go. How
I'm
about
going to
those
tell you
Comets?
something. Now,
Sounds like a
there's a
great
couple
game.
of guys, those 2 fellas that coach that girls team. Luke Coffey, I've said this before. I think
been there
he's the
forever.
best. I think he's the best high school coach in the state of Vermont.
The Gino Oriemi of girls.
You're saying
sports in
period,
Vermont.
boys included.
Boys included. That game. Now our girls.
Was he a coffee or a toffee?
He's a coffee.
Coffee.
To describe that game, Essex had quite a territorial advantage against us. But we have a terrific goalie who, I might say, we have a terrific goalie coach now at BFA, my daughter-in-law.
Oh, she is.
That's
yeah.
right, Roxanne, right?
But anyway, the Maddie Hungerford played super.
Who's their father?
Bill.
God,
Billy
I
Hungerford.
recognize that guy.
So anyway, one thing we did, those guys had a plan though. Essex had a lot of shots, and the puck was in our end a lot. But what Essex didn't get is they never got any second chances.
Huh.
Our guys would clear the puck,
Yeah.
and they get it out of the way. And I watched that game with my cousin Jim Handy from Burlington. And I was telling them in the middle of the second period, I said, you know what, these goalies are good, and it's hard to score mano-mano against one of these goalies today. I said, what's going to happen is see like there's a mess in front of the net right now. Somebody's just going to keep poking it, and somebody's going to get a goal. And sure enough, that's how we got our goal.
Wow.
Because the goalie lost sight of it. And she was looking over here, and the puck was over there, and the ref was right behind the net and looking at it. And he could see the puck, or she could. I think it was a she. And then somebody just jabbed it in.
Wow.
And Essex was kind of sour about that because they thought the whistle should have been blown, but the referee could see the puck.
Oh, really?
And
So
then-
totally legit goal.
Absolutely. So then after that, we kind of went into a little bit of a defensive shell, and they iced it whenever they had a chance. And our girls looked tired. They were hanging. Essex was really all over us.
So Essex looked like the better team?
They were playing more aggressively. Let's put it that way. And then all of a sudden, with about 5 minutes to go, I think it was Lizzie Hill. And she scored a goal against Essex last year to beat them.
Wow.
She gets a puck about middle ice and goes in, makes a nice move on a goalie and buries it.
Wow.
And that was it, and they were done.
David, how was the crowd at the gut?
Pretty good crowd. I mean, because the first game was MVU and Stowe.
Okay.
Right.
Stowe won 5-0.
Yeah. And
kudos to MVU for getting
yeah.
to the championship.
I guess Stowe will be in D1 next year.
Okay.
They used to be
right?
in D1 when Emmy was playing.
Let me ask you, where's your lovely wife, Carrie? Does she ever partake in these activities with you?
She would have maybe gone to the girls' hockey game. But my cousin Jimmy, his daughter was a goalie. Not his daughter, his granddaughter. His granddaughter was a goalie for Essex the last 2-3 years.
Okay.
And before that, his other granddaughter was a big stud for Essex, and she ended up actually going to Amherst as a lacrosse player.
Really? Wow.
Oh, okay.
And so,
Mr. McWilliams, is that you?
That's me.
How about you? Why don't you jump in where I am, and I'll
No, you just stay right there because I'm not going to be here too long.
Okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to come in.
David McWilliams just walked in, president of
The
Public
president,
Access Television.
the guy who's got as good a handle on what goes on these airwaves as anybody, Mr. Hawk.
Yeah, I just came from the new studio, and by the way, there's a
Is that
foot of
right?
snow in the driveway, and it's looking
Right, tell me
lonely
about
because
it.
you guys are not there. The reason I'm here tonight is we have to recognize people once in a while for their many years of
Hawk,
service.
you know what today is? Does this date or close to this date mean anything to you? It should. You're
March
usually
20th.
on top of things.
March
we're a little,
20th.
couple days early, but we're pretty close to the 15th anniversary of this show.
wow.
And thanks currently to, aside from the great Mr. Hawk, to Dave, Dr. J for his years, and of course Leg for helping us get started. But Hawk, you've been here since day one.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I was the one who antagonized him to be on the board of directors, and he's been on the board of
fine-
directors ever since.
A fine move.
So on behalf of the board of directors and the employees of Northwest Peg Access, we're presenting you this plaque for 15 years award for Rick Nighthawk Tatro for the best damn sports show in Franklin County.
Good job. Good job,
Well,
Hawk.
thank
you.
15 years. That's a lot of time. And of course, this guy's the host. This guy takes the show very serious. This guy does homework for the show. I scribble some notes once in a while, but he does homework.
appreciate that very much, David. And I just want to say, Duke has been on board since day one.
And you guys gave me way more attention. You guys gave me plenty of attention
And
a
the
little while
genesis
ago.
was, and I said the story before, the late Paul Legacy was the executive director here, and he apparently was a sports guy. And Duke said, hey, he's kind of interested in doing a sports show. And I said, geez, I don't know. Does he really know sports? Well, I'll go talk with him. And he was up for it, and we did it together for a good number of years until he passed away.
Can we hold this?
And Dr. J came in and did a number of years with us, and of course David Handy has been on board with us for how many years now, David?
Wow, that's very nice.
Boy, David, how long
About
have you
5 or
been?
6.
Yeah, that sounds
Five,
about
6
right.
years Dave's been with us. So
That's very nice.
not to use a sports cliche, but it's been a real team effort. And all I can tell you, and one of my clients came in, and she watches the show, and she hit the nail on the head. She said, and I quote, "It looks like you guys have a lot of fun." And bingo.
Right on about that.
That is it. I'm all about in life having fun, whether it's just doing nothing or if I'm at work, I've got to have fun. And this has been a great opportunity. Of course, Duke and I worked together at the old radio station, WWSR, WLFE. And you came in Vermont, what, 1978?
So, no, wait, 75,
75.
November
You started
14 in a snowstorm.
When did you start at the radio station?
Boy, John took a shot at me at one point. I declined. Probably 78, 79. Then I thought I was going to join my friend Buzzy O'Shea down at the Suburban List newspaper in Essex. So quit my jobs only to not go to that job. Tyrone Shaw. Tyrone jumped in for a year. Then I came back for another 20 years.
But you know, David, how it
Probably
goes.
78 or so.
So I worked a good number of years with the Duke, and we were great friends. We played on the same softball team together for years.
Team Tatro, good enough to
competed
throw me
against David's team. And when you leave work, you always say, "Oh yeah, I'll keep in touch. I'll keep in touch. Don't worry about it." Well, we kept in touch. One of the few people that would actually do that by our love of golf, and by the virtue of the show, we've just been able to keep our friendship up. And David's been absolutely great. And I was talking to my father about a month ago about David. I said, "Dad, boy, can David Handy talk?" And he goes, "Well, if you think he can talk, you should have saw his father, Larry." He says Larry was a bigger talker.
Apples don't fall far from the tree, or whatever they say.
Again, we have so much fun here, and I like to think we're informative and we're educational. And
Like I was Sunday at the Franklin breakfast, the great
Yeah.
Franklin, sadly the last one, the usual great show, but walked into my old friend Wesley Decker, who had
Yep.
very, very good words for the show.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wesley.
Yep.
You're out there.
And even to this day, I still have folks saying, "Hey, I see you guys on television," and all that. And that's the bottom line with me. I just need to have that three-letter word done, and it continues. And even on a tired day, it's great to come in here. And especially this time of the year, during the summer, we always find things to do. But it's great to get out of the house, get out of your job, and come sit down here, just talk sports with the fellas.
Yeah. And David, thanks. Your efforts. You've been, again, Hawk, 15 years on this show. Dave, about 20 years with these guys?
Close to 20 years.
And I've been on the board of directors. He kind of
So thanks, David. You've been a key guy, and I think you
pestered
got
me into getting on the board. So I've been working David closely, and of course, just let you guys know, there's very few shows left in the studio. I'm going to guess probably mid-April, the brand new building in Franklin Park West will be up and running.
I can't imagine. I just can't imagine. Hey, thanks again to BFA
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, BFA was an asset
treated
for
us
helping
great. Thanks, BFA.
It's an absolutely beautiful building, and from my house, it's exactly 2 miles. So I will leave like 5 of 8 to get to the 8 o'clock show.
I'll have to leave a little bit earlier.
You're going to have to leave earlier.
Got to probably add a couple minutes
Yeah.
for me, not too much.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you, Rick,
Thanks.
and thank you for your service to public access, because without the volunteers that we have, everybody on your TV show, and all the other volunteers that we have, plus we have the employees that have to do all the hard work, and it's up to us to make a good quality show, and your show is one of the quality ones. So we just got to keep it up, and that way public access will live long farther than what we'll live in the lifetime.
So what do you think, Hawk? Another 15 years?
Well, I still have
Easy for you to say. Myself might be getting a little shake. That's a scary thought, but anyway.
Yeah.
But it's been a nice run, and kudos, Hawk.
Yeah.
Great job.
I appreciate that. Thanks,
thank you.
David.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Right.
Take care.
I had to come up here, even though it was snowing out, just to get
Thanks,
that. to you.
David. How did you slog your way out there? Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, thanks a lot.
I
Hawk, good
actually
job.
was going to mention it was next.
Next week was
week,
a little closer.
yeah,
The
closer.
date on there is actually the actual 15-year date, I think. Right? March 19 is the date on there.
I thought it was the 20th, but
had-
I'm not going to squabble over one
20th
day.
on- yeah.
But I'll tell you what.
Close.
When we started out, if you would have told me 15 years, I'd say forget about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is one of the fun things in life
No, I
that I
agree.
enjoy. I mean, I enjoy David's
Right.
company.
Well, shoot, we sit and talk. What people don't understand, we sit sometimes and talk for 5 or 10 minutes or longer afterwards when
or
the
even,
cameras are done.
even the parking lot, 20
Yes.
below zero.
Yeah. So no, it's a hoop.
Yeah, it's been fun, but great job, Hawk. Great
Thank
job,
you.
buddy.
So let's see.
Where were
We're
we?
talking
We
hockey.
took care of the girls hockey. I wanted
now-
to mention that.
Kuda, that's a good win.
They
That's a good win.
well, our girls.
Well, that's a tough loss for Essex, huh?
Well, too bad for them. I don't.
They were the defending champs, or at least one.
we beat them last year too.
is that
Rutland
BFA?
was.
Oh, is that right?
I've been, I think, to every girls' state championship
Oh,
since Emmy was playing.
wow.
And of all the ones that I've seen, the one that is, or all the ones that BFA's been in,
Yeah.
let me put it that way. The most exciting one and the most incredible one is still the second one.
Yeah.
That was a year that we found out that Emmy needed a pacemaker.
Oh, really? Wow.
And then to go on top of that, Christine Dodd, who was probably our best player.
Was that Jack Dodd's daughter?
No,
Okay.
they're from Sheldon.
Okay.
The Sheldon Dawes,
And Christine was a terrific hockey player, really, really good. And she had to have a defibrillator put in.
Wow.
Because, so think about it, 2 high school girls
Wow.
in the peak of their health,
Wow.
both having heart issues.
Wow.
So anyway, Emmy was all done during the season, and Christine had played, but she'd had some problems, and when the playoffs came on, she was out the first game, or I'm not sure. Well, anyways, they get to the championship game. Christine had been in a hospital for a couple of days. She'd had a bad reaction to some of the medicine she'd had.
Wow.
She comes out and plays. The game is 1-1 or 0-0. I can't even remember. Or maybe 1-1. And game goes into overtime.
Wow.
She takes the puck at center ice, dekes her way through about 2-3 girls, and does a beautiful Ovechkin backhand
Wow.
over the goalie, and we won. And I get goosebumps just thinking about it even now.
And that again was the second.
That was the second.
Was it about 15 years ago?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, see, they don't give us credit for one of our state championships because the headmasters didn't sanction the first one.
Oh, is that right?
But the first one, we still beat all the teams.
So this was the first sanctioned one you're talking about?
Yeah, and they used to have them at Kreitzberg,
Oh, is that right?
which we like. I like them better.
Didn't the Comets win like the first 5, 6, 7 or
Yeah,
something?
they did. And because, when they had Emmy's crew, and I'm not saying because of her, because they had a lot of, that first bunch, the first bunch of girls, we had about 9 or 10 of those girls play college hockey of some sort or another.
Wow.
You had Caitlin Malboff played for Brown, Emmy played for Trinity, Ellen Sargent played for Middlebury. We had one of the girls played for Northeastern, Jen Bergeron.
Wow.
And 2 or 3 of the girls played for Norwich. Now, the pool of girl hockey players probably wasn't as deep then as it is now, but they were still just as good. That was a great bunch. But our, I don't know if you read the article in the paper, our U10s and our U14s also won the state championship for girls.
Really? Wow.
And part of that is, I think our coaches do a good job, and the Comets in particular, of integrating themselves into the whole thing. And they really, we've got a great thing going there.
David,
Right.
one quick question. What's the numbers in youth hockey today versus 15 years ago?
Well, I can't tell you. Because I don't know. The peak of youth hockey around here, and probably for the whole state, was when my kid Bud was playing.
And so when are we talking?
That was, Emmy graduated in 2008, so Bud graduated in 2010. So I'd say, it was when John LeClaire was playing for the
Flyers.
Canadians, and then went to the
Flyers.
Flyers. You had, to give you an idea, we had, when Bud was playing, 5 squirt teams plus a house team. You had 500 or 600 kids playing hockey.
Wow.
And you had a lot of them playing travel teams. And when Sam came through 10 years later, we only had enough guys for a couple of years to only have one team. And they've been, and the last couple of years, between the Bantams, we don't even have a midget team anymore. Midgets are all done.
Really?
And
So just not enough interest?
not enough. Well, there are enough kids.
Not enough
And I was talking to Jeff Rullo about that, and he said one of the things you got to remember, in 2008, we had a big recession.
Right. Oh, wait.
And that took a lot of the kids out. Plus, there just aren't that many kids. It's like we've said before, there's only 900 kids at BFA.
Wow.
Yeah.
There just aren't that many kids.
Oh, you're crazy because my education tax keeps going up every year. I don't understand it.
That's a whole...
We'll say that for another show. So I want to get into Happy New Year, NFL football, start of the new year, 4 o'clock.
Left tackle.
Now, what we're going to do right now is basic economics 101, the law of supply and demand. left tackle. The New York Football Giants did sign Nate Soldier today.
Oh, did they really?
The highest
Boy,
paid.
what a day for the Pats. Should I concede defeat on the Pats?
I wouldn't worry about the Pats. They could.
Boy, the guy. Boy, is that right, Nate? But Deion Lewis, this is a tough
Deion
day.
Lewis.
Deion Lewis
Amendola.
signed with.
Amendola.
Malcolm Butler, obviously zero surprise.
So
Well, what a
Nate
day.
Soldier
Is that right? The
out of
Giants grabbed
Colorado
him.
will be turning 30 years old. He's no spring chicken next week.
Wow.
And if one word to describe him, solid. However, he's never made All-Pro. But again, law of supply and demand. The Giants were desperate. They made a desperate move here because I said last week,
Well, they lost that guard.
Andrew Noel from
Toward Jacksonville.
Jacksonville.
Old friend Tom
Scooped him up.
Coughlin grabbed
Scooped
him up.
So he signed a 4-year contract, $62 million, 35 of it guaranteed,
Wow.
annual value of $5.5 million. So, you know,
Did the Patriots, did they a lot of times with those guys, they see what happening with the market. Did they even try
Yes.
to keep him or not?
Patriots were in on Solder.
Is that right?
They didn't want to lose him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. What
But
a
the
day
Giants
for the
just
Pats.
stepped into
So,
it.
David, I'm assuming the guy we talked about for the last 3 years, Chagrin, Eric Flowers, who's been our left tackle, our number 1 draft pick, 9th overall 3 seasons ago. I'm assuming he's going to go to right tackle and hopefully find some success there.
And they're going to keep that free agent center, Brent Jones.
Brent Jones out of Canada will be our Weston Richburg, who's been our center for the last number of years.
He's gone.
Signed with the 49ers yesterday. But just to show you the problems with the New York Giants, that locker room last year. So if people are scratching their heads, why did the Giants sign Jonathan Stewart? The aged running back will be 31 this year.
Character guys is what
Thank
they
you.
want.
He's a character guy. They needed a sheriff in town to clean up that locker room. Now, they also re-signed Mark Herzlich, who's strictly a special team player, was injured and played at all last year. But he's a high-quality guy. They want him back in the locker room. So, you know, they're not going to put up with the Odell Beckhams, which will segue into the picture, or that little 7-second video. I don't know if he was in the Caribbean somewhere.
Smoking a blunt.
He had a blunt in his hand, a joint, and there was a tray of cocaine, and he had some model with him, and she said that wasn't Odell's coke. But and I wear this Odell Beckham jersey, David, for one reason. I paid for it, and damn it, I'm going to wear it. But I will tell you straight up, I wish I didn't buy it.
Yeah, he's
what
a
a
bum.
shameful person.
He's a bum.
How would you like your son to turn out like Odell Beckham? I changed the locks on my door. So he's a free agent after this year. I hope he catches 100 passes, gets 1,200 yards. However,
In any case, you
he's
want him gone after this
he's
year?
talking
or-
20+ million a year. I want him gone. So we still have to
So
rework.
no matter what, even if it was a more
I'll tell you
workable
what.
contract?
He is going to have to be an altar boy and hold the.
I don't see it
plate.
happening for me. It's not his
Hard
name.
to picture.
Yeah, right. You can't
Hey,
change
he's
spots on the
been
left.
an idiot for 4 straight years.
Yeah.
And each year he finds new ways to even amp up the idiocy. That whole peeing on in a goals.
Is there any way the Giants would try to trade him to get something for
No.
him? No way.
Well, who knows what you're going to get for him? Well, they took.
The Giants can't afford to trade him because they don't have any other quality
And
receivers.
Talib Akib, or whatever his name was, he got traded today. He's a pretty good player for a 5th-round pick.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, who did he?
Rams.
The Rams got it. He's
All right.
32 years old. I said last week he was going to
Patriots
sign with the
apparently had
Patriots.
some interest, right?
But this guy's been trouble in the locker room his whole career.
Yeah.
But the thing about him is he's a high-quality player, and you kind of look the other way.
Now, you know what's shaping up for the Giants' #1 pick? Saquon Barkley. Because Cleveland signed today
Carlos Hyde.
a first-string running back and gave him first-string money. They gave him $15 million
Yep.
bucks for 3 years.
Carlos Hyde played his college football at Ohio State. He was born and brought up in Ohio. So me thinks the same way. Cleveland has the first and fourth pick.
So it looks like they'll probably go for a quarterback.
Well, who'd they pick up? Tyrod Taylor from Buffalo, but he's just going to mentor the first half of the season.
Yeah.
I still think, David, that Cleveland's taking Barkley in the first pick, and they'll have their choice of quarterback.
You don't really want to have those two guys. See, and what the Giants did, the Giants signed a running back, and that quality. I guess he's a high character guy too. But they only paid him backup money.
Oh, he's getting 3.45 a year.
Not much.
Not much.
So they think they got him. The Giants, I think, are going to take Barkley. Barkley was the best player in the combine.
Oh, absolutely. And as we said on the show last week, one of the greatest combines in the history of it being held in Indianapolis every year. I still think the Giants are going to trade down, and I will tell you why I came prepared this week. Last week, I was telling Elizabeth, it was not one of my better effort shows. I was deadbeat tired. Okay. Picking number 5. Denver. They picked up Case Keenum, okay?
Yep.
He had a nice year with the Vikings.
Had a good year.
However, you don't want to hang your clipboard on this guy for too long. I think Denver, if they want their choice of a quarterback, a particular quarterback, they will trade with the Giants. Number 6, we all know the New York Jets need a quarterback. They did sign 37-year-old Josh McCown. Is that McNown for $10 million to be a mentor to whomever?
Oh, they signed a quarterback too.
Oh, Teddy Bridgewater. Right. So that actually, you're right, David. So that may take them out of the quarterback market. So now I'm also seeing on some mock drafts that the Giants.
No, Bradford. Didn't the Jets take Sam Bradford?
No, Sam Bradford signed a 1-year contract with Arizona.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
1 year, $20 million. And Bradford's got a really, really bad, what's the word,
degenerative?
Right. Bad. He would have been a really, really good quarterback, but he's been injured his whole NFL career.
The whole football, you can contrast the football free agent, period, to the baseball, where the guys just finally, Arrieta just signed, and the football, it'll be all done in tomorrow.
Oh, right. If you're not signed by Friday, forget about it.
Ready for Ben Volen in the Globe about Mr. Soder? The Patriots are in a position where they pretty much have to bring Solder back. Last year's backups, Waddle and Fleming, are great depth pieces, but neither is starter-worthy. Last sentence of that segment. So it looks as if it's Soder or bust for the Patriots. They can't afford to mess around with this one.
Well, let me say this. As bad as the Giants' offensive line is, they have a 37-year-old quarterback, while the Patriots have a 41-year-old quarterback. And Mr. Brady, he's in great shape, but I'm telling you, I used to be 41, and my bones weren't as good at 21.
Younger.
And
I'm concerned about the pass. I think they had a tough day today.
There's nothing on the market for left tackle. Solder is very good,
right.
But as I said, he's never been an All-Pro. He's a solid player.
Well, it's such a typical Patriot. Patriots have so many guys who are good players who don't get to the All-Pro level. I mean, it sounds like he got a good pickup. That's a big loss for the Pats.
Yeah, I still think the Giants are going to end up getting the guard from Notre Dame.
See, I think they're going to take Barkley.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll know in a few weeks.
But of course, we have Wayne Gallman, who he got out of Clemson last year.
Well, Wayne Gallman is okay, but Barkley could be another LT.
Oh no, you're right. And in order to alleviate pressure on Eli, it'd be nice to hand the ball a dozen more times a game, and that would make Manning a lot better quarterback.
Oh, if they had a running game, if they could just that's the reason why they kept Brett Jones, was because
he's cheap to start with, but he actually played really well.
He could block. Once they got to the last few games, they actually started to run the ball quite a bit.
And there was a kid by the name of John Halapo, and they re-signed him. He could end up being your starting right guard. But Dave Gettleman, the new GM of the Giants, and again, I think he's 66 years old, former GM of the Panthers, used to be an employee of the Giants. He's all into character right now. He is not going to take any bum and bring him into this franchise. That locker room, first and foremost, has to be cleaned up before they deal with the issues on the gridiron.
I really like what Gettleman's been doing.
Yeah.
And
So, David, I'm about ready to give you a compliment, as painful as it may be, but you were spot on the signing of Jake Arrieta. You said, and I think you actually said, it probably will be a 3-year contract, and it probably is going to be top loaded. And what did he sign? A 3-year contract for $75 million. When you initially heard that, you said $25 million a year. Okay, well,
the incentives are crazy.
$30 million the first year,
Yeah.
$25 the second year, and he has an opt-out after his second year. So just say he reverts back to his old form.
Yeah.
He's not going to play for his third year's $20 million. He's not going to play for chump change.
Plus, didn't he get a couple of options if he pitches so many innings? He
I
gets
didn't
so
see
much.
that.
I think that
He can make, if he hits all the numbers, he can make 28, 29 million bucks.
Yeah.
And then have options for the next couple of years
And
after.
it was Philadelphia, right? He signed with-
Philadelphia.
Now, the problem with Philadelphia, great baseball town.
Yeah.
However, they haven't been all that good the last 5 years, and their attendance has really dwindled.
Yeah.
And they really want to make a push to at least play 500.
So how many free agents are still out there?
Oh, probably.
I mean, scores, right?
Scores.
Dozens.
Yeah, but the Yankees picked up
I
Murphy.
don't even know that guy.
They picked up Murphy. He's
Murphy.
good.
Didn't they get a Walker?
Walker, excuse
okay.
me. Not
Let me
Murphy,
tell you
Walker.
this about Neil Walker.
I don't even know the name. This guy's good, right?
He's a 272 lifetime hitter.
Really?
And second baseman, solid defense, and he'll hit you at least 15 home runs.
A super
if
utility
healthy.
guy? Is
Well,
that he's
I'm looking at the second base
a
position.
regular guy?
Regular second
really?
base. Because Torres, they just shipped back to the
Right.
minors
Oh, is that
today.
right?
David,
Okay.
again, I'm a Boy Scout tonight, came prepared.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the roster depth chart, and is it Trevor Wade? Is that the kid's
Yes,
name?
yeah.
They've got him starting at second base. So I said, well, I'm going to ask Mr. Yankee, David, is Wade your starting second baseman? Or so I can't believe they brought Walker in to be a backup player.
Walker's going to be the starter.
Walker's a really nice
And
player.
the kid you were talking about last week was Estevan Florial. He's a guy he's looked like Babe Ruth during the spring
Yeah, okay.
training,
Really?
but he's an outfielder,
Okay.
and he may make it as a fifth outfielder because Frazier has been hurt with concussion, and of course our old friend Jacoby Ellsbury, he's got a bad oblique. He hasn't been able to play for the last 2-3 weeks.
Hey, Duke, as we sit here in a 12-inch snowstorm,
Yeah.
we're literally 2 weeks away from
Right. It's
opening
incredible how little attention.
2 weeks
My
away.
main Red Sox thing would be Blake Swihart. I just don't think they can cut the. I think he's too valuable. I fear Brock Holt may be the guy who gets chopped.
Well, I already told you.
Swihart's out of options, especially that he can play catcher. They're playing him all different positions, but that's not a bad luxury to have. If
Right.
one of their catchers goes down, that's
Yeah.
my comment on the Red Sox. I don't think
Yeah.
they can cut this guy
And
or trade
Brock
him.
Holt, once you re-sign Nunez,
Yeah.
you cannot have two super utility guys on
Would
the
you
team.
agree? I think Brian, and I love Brock Holt.
Well,
They're one All-Star a couple of years ago.
Yeah, Sandy Leon will get cut, and Swihart will be your backup
I think,
pitcher.
boy, Sandy Leon had 2 homers the other day.
Yeah. Oh,
I think
but-
I disagree. I think Brock Holt goes. I think they keep 3 catchers, but with Swihart able to play other positions.
And I like
The
Sandy
pitchers love-
Leon. He's a
the
solid
pitchers love him.
defender. Now, he hit 300 2 years ago, and he hit 220 last year.
Yeah,
so,
he faded.
so who is the?
So you think they'll cut? Do you think they'll cut him?
I would.
I think
listen,
I think they keep 3 catchers
not.
just because Swihart can play elsewhere.
Here's what I would do with Swihart: is you keep him as your backup catcher,
Yeah.
have him play 40, 45 games behind
Yeah.
the plate, do some utility work. Make him a trade chip for next winter because you're not going to get rid of Vasquez. Is going to be there for the next 10 years.
Right, unless he can play another position and stuff, he may be useful
Yeah.
enough.
And the MO on Swihart is
The
he's
guy
good.
the guy can hit.
He can hit, but he's not a good defender.
Well, that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, they have one more body than they need out of those guys.
So, David, question on the Yankees rotation. Sonny Gray, who 4 or 5 years ago was one of the top 3 pitchers in the American League with the Oakland Athletics, what should I expect out of him being the number 3 pitcher this year for the Yankees?
He'll be okay. He'll be better than okay. Sonny Gray's pretty good. He was pretty good with the Yankees. He was pretty good with the A's last year when he's healthy. Mm-hmm. It's just that he's not a big guy. He's only 5'11". He doesn't look like he's a big muscle man.
Yeah, he is slightly built.
I think we're in pretty good shape, and they've got room now. Of course, they've cleaned up both of their messes. They weren't sure about third base, but it looks like Drury.
Brendan Drury's a fine player.
They think Brendan Drury is going to turn out just like Didi Gregorius did. Yep. And I was reading a thing today that Arizona says that they think Drury's best days are in front of him. Mm-hmm. They really hated to get rid of him, but they really needed the guy that the Yankees offered for him. Or
who did you give up? Was that a three-team trade?
It was a three-way trade.
I think, did Steven Souza, I think it was with the Rays, and I think
yes.
outfielder was pretty good from the Rays, got moved to Arizona.
They needed that guy, and then of course with Walker, right? Not Murphy. I keep Walker and Murphy. I've always, because they both played for the Mets, didn't they?
Neil Walker came up with the Pirates and then played last year with the Mets and got traded.
He made $17.5 million last year. This year he's making $4 million.
Yeah. Well, that brings me up, and I should have wrote this down during the week. But they were talking, of course, we've been talking about all winter, was the low salaries of the free agents being signed. And when San Diego picked up Evan Longoria early winter, he's getting like $20 million a year. Well, we didn't give two hoots about it because that was the going rate. But now they're re-looking at it by saying, boy, knowing what they know now, that they could have
had Hosmer.
They could have picked, right.
Or now Hosmer, but Moustakas still hasn't signed, has he?
He did sign.
Listen, Moustakas
for chump change.
6.5 or 7.5.
With Toronto, right? He's back to Toronto.
Did he go to?
I heard Buster Olney talking about him today.
I thought he re-signed with Kansas City, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
No, I might be wrong too. Although Buster Olney today was saying, Toronto might be a better team than they're looking like.
Well, they don't need a third baseman. They got Donaldson.
Maybe it was Kansas City then.
Is Donaldson still on Toronto?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Kansas. Yeah, because he had good words for Kansas, saying, "Hey, Kansas City's in play, guys."
But the Moose is a good player. But again, they had to, San Diego, pick up the 3 remaining years of the Tampa contract with Evan Longoria and throw this number out. 32 years old. As we know, and San Diego's a tough ballpark to hit into.
Well, the thing is, with both Tampa and the Marlins, they both dumped all their players.
Yeah.
And I was listening to one of the guys talk today on MLB, and they were saying that they think actually that the Marlins did pretty well. Because the only guy they really didn't get much for was Stanton. Mm-hmm. The rest of the guys, they did get some decent bodies.
That was money they obviously needed to do.
They just had to get rid of Stanton.
Yeah. I agree with Jeter. Winning 77 games a year is not going to do it for them.
They never had the pitching, and they couldn't afford to go out and buy pitching.
Right. Clean house, start fresh. Yeah. And the thing you have to do, though, any of these multitude of kids that will be playing, when it gets time to sign them, don't say we can't afford them. You've got to re-sign them, because Miami is a horrible baseball market to boot, because aside from Tampa, Miami's always the second worst attendance. And we say this ad nauseum. They never should have put baseball in the state of Florida.
What did Miami? Were they even over 20,000 last year? Again, just a little, so just about as bad as Tampa was, probably like 16, 17?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, and of course...
so baseball's too. I guess they better start paying a little more attention. That's unreal.
The Toronto Blue Jays.
I shovel snow. A little hard for me to think about baseball.
Toronto Blue Jays are up at the Big O.
Is that right? For a couple games?
Two games.
Oh, is that right?
And of course, they pretty much sell them out. But it was cute in the beginning. Okay, Major League Baseball up there, sell out, party time.
I'm sorry. This is Jays and
I don't even remember who's playing.
It's not Red Sox. I don't think.
But I'm starting to think, how long can you continue to do this? There's got to be an end game here for Montreal.
Okay, you're so way more optimistic than I am. Are you still Have you given me a guarantee? Have you told me that baseball will return? I forget if you gave me an official
David,
Nighthawk guarantee.
The truth of the matter is,
if you did, you're crazy.
I've lost all credibility with this guy.
Yeah.
When I told him straight in the face without blinking, I said, Duke, UVM will have
the
football
famous guarantee.
before they open up the doors at Walmart. And this was 15 years ago, and it might have been on the very first show
poor
ever.
UVM. Forget football, baseball. Baseball's gone.
Okay, well, this is a two-part question.
But
I'm
are you
still
still
optimistic. Yes.
about mine?
I think
I haven't heard a thing.
I think Montreal, and I could be mistaken, but rarely that does happen, that Montreal might be the largest market in North America that does not have a baseball
Really?
team. And number two, and question for you, David, hockey question. What went through Quebec City's mind to build a brand new state-of-the-art hockey arena without being guaranteed a NHL franchise, and of course the Canadian dollar still isn't all that great. And what I'm hearing is Seattle will get the next, because they want to balance out the West-East division.
Don't they have some long ago minor league hockey history, I think, also?
Well, Quebec, you don't have to worry about them. They'll put people in that hockey rink.
Oh, I agree with you.
But
I
but
think
there's no-
I think they assume that, hey, if we build a
but
stadium...
they figured if
they'll
they
come
had
back.
it would help. Las Vegas did it too.
Yeah.
Las Vegas built the rink. You built the rink, and then you get the team.
Yeah, but the commissioner Bettman said there's no franchise on the horizon for Quebec.
Well, they're
that does hurt.
idiots.
Now, there are
That-
teams
I
like
agree.
Carolina that doesn't draw very well. I mean, that
Raleigh?
would be a natural move.
Well, they'd have
course,
been
Carolina.
better off in Hartford.
I want you guys
The Whalers, bring back the Whalers.
Yeah.
a free automobile direct from Handy GMC Buick. You can pick it out tonight if you answer me this question. First one. Who was the team that was moved to Carolina?
Hartford Whalers.
Correct. Okay, you win a free car,
Here,
David.
I gotta go. These 4 cups
Oh,
of
yeah?
water.
Okay.
These 4 cups of water are
Wondering
working
why
their
you're
magic.
holding your mic
Yeah.
there.
I'll be right back.
Okay, Dave, best part of the show's coming up.
That still never happened to me. Of course, I probably jinxed myself. It's never happened to me.
No, you
Knock
don't
on-
drink coffee, do you?
I don't drink coffee.
I drink a gallon of coffee.
drink actually a lot of tea. I had some tea at old friend Anna Neville's before I came here.
Yeah, I do
No coffee.
three 20-ounce cups every morning.
So Quebec, geez, I got to think they figured, hey, if we build a stadium, but geez, I'd love to see any Canadian team get a National Hockey League. But yeah, that must be a blow. They're not even getting much talk right now.
Yeah. So-
but back to baseball, Hawk. Why are you the slightest bit optimistic about baseball coming back to Montreal?
I just think that there's some dead markets out there that would
Maybe
make
dead
sense.
markets, but you don't have a stadium.
They will build it.
So it's going to take. Yes, we'll go back to Montreal
Right.
once the stadium's built.
Look what happened when the Expos left Montreal
Yeah.
after the 04 season.
Yeah.
And Washington.
Did they play in the old? Did they play in the old RFK Stadium for
I
like a
was
year or
just going to
two?
say it. They got the franchise. They renovated for X number of millions of dollars, and I went down there for a number of games. The old RFK
Renovated
Stadium.
the old RFK
Right,
Stadium
to make
but
baseball ready.
But with the promise that they would build a
Right.
new stadium,
And,
which they did.
And that park was built on the Anaconda River. Is that the name? of it?
Anacostia, I think.
Anaconda, whatever. And
I never won
yeah,
around
so I
that
went
river.
down RFK where the Redskins used to play football. I think that was actually built in 1961.
Really?
And
Not the best part of DC, as I recall,
no,
right? But
and I think the MLS, the soccer league, I can't remember, the DC whatever, play there, but they're going to be getting a new ballpark.
Well, one soccer team, I just noticed the attendance. One of the U.S. soccer teams had a record crowd of 72,000 the other night.
Seattle gets a lot of. Now, I will tell you, if Montreal gets a franchise, I mean, they're not going to build a $500 million stadium.
They're obviously not going to build.
They
it.
will go the Big O for the first 2 years. And
which
then,
I guess they could
and
do.
I have seen some plans on one of the rivers. I can't remember. They would be right at the river's edge.
The St. Lawrence, obviously, is a biggie.
Right. So it could happen.
So anyway, I believe, for the record, I of course hope it happens. Unfortunately, they lost one of their biggest fans, and it was a surprising election. I catch Montreal TV media, but I didn't get a lot of this. Denis Coderre running for a second term.
I love Denis Coderre.
Seemingly
Lost.
popular mayor,
Yep.
lost to Montreal's first woman mayor, Valérie Plante. And Denny Coderre did a lot of work. He was a huge fan. I'm not
course.
sure about Valerie.
Was it the Champlain Bridge or the other bridge? That they,
Champlain Bridge is the one they're building a new one as we speak.
What the Jacques Cartier?
That's
What
near the
one did they
stadium.
spend millions and millions and millions of dollars to put like fancy glow lights?
The lights, yeah, Jacques Cartier.
On the Jacques Cartier Bridge,
Right,
and a lot of
in
people
fact,
were
stuff like that.
scratching their heads. Like, and
I
they
guess
might
it was
have
issues
spent
like that
they
hurt
might have
them.
spent $20 million.
It was what, Montreal's 350th anniversary, and they spent serious bucks.
Yeah.
I think that clearly hurt them.
So-
but I never did see a good post-election story. I was surprised by that election.
Oh, and he loved baseball, the mayor.
Yeah, Denny Coderre was a big fan.
so-
Anyway, I hope you're right. I just have about zero optimism about
That's
that.
one of my things I would like to do before I die is go up to the Montreal Expo.
You were such a good fan.
And have a Labatt Blue while I watch the
Not
game.
to mention a dollar hot dog on the way in
At
at
La Belle Province.
Provence.
That's right. So, Duke,
Welcome back.
I want to voice concerns.
Yeah. Boy,
over
what about the
our Boston
Celtics?
Celtics?
I'm very concerned.
They're on national TV tonight
Against the Wizards
Washington
as we
Wizards.
speak. Yeah.
And if we don't lose by 20,
at Boston Hawk?
I don't. I've got it recording right now.
Yeah.
But tonight, now Kyrie Irving, he got traded to
concerned about
Boston.
Kyrie.
But you have to remember, he told Cleveland, if you don't trade me anywhere,
Yeah.
he's got a bad left knee. And he says, I am going to go under the knife and I'm going to put myself out for the season. Well, Cleveland didn't want any part of that, and they ended up trading him to Boston. He's out tonight. He may be back Sunday.
Well, he
Marcus
left
Smart,
the game in progress the other night.
Marcus Smart
The game they
dove,
lost to
hurt his thumb.
Indiana.
We're going to find out in the next 24 hours if he's out for the season.
Might be gone.
And of course, I said before his last injury when he cut his hand,
Yeah.
don't re-sign this guy. I was 100% mistaken on that.
You've changed,
oh,
sure.
they need his. He brings the
And
team.
Mr. Tice, who's had some good games, he's
Daniel
gone.
Tice, our German friend,
Is
25 years old, 6'9", and he runs like he's 5'9".
what,
Mr.
is that a
Hustle.
knee injury or something?
Oh, I have to
Whatever.
say that word. Torn meniscus.
Torn meniscus. Yeah, I
And
guess
of
that'll-
course, I made a prediction, and don't roll the tapes back around the first of the year,
Yeah.
guaranteeing that Gordon Hayward would be back by the end of
Doesn't
March.
look
Well,
like
it sounds like he'd be prepared. Sounds like Stevens has said seemingly pretty clearly,
Yeah.
unless they keep losing some more players.
So I'm getting extremely nervous. Of course, Toronto's in first.
And Toronto's
And
playing very good
Toronto's
ball.
great.
Yeah, forget it. They're not getting ahead of Toronto.
Toronto's a very deep team, and we watch them. They play actual team ball.
So you blame this on boy, it just seems like some of the luster over the Celtics has kind of faded a bit here.
Yeah.
You blame this on injuries or more than that?
Like Al Horford's not
Brad
playing
Stevens,
tonight.
are we giving Brad even
No, I
more
think this
better
team.
words than we
I think
should?
this team is banged up, and I think you're going to hear after the playoffs are done this summer that Kyrie's going to say he was probably playing at 80%. And
So what about Kyrie? That Kyrie may be headed for big-time surgery
I haven't
here?
heard it, but it would not surprise me. And again, he
And if
threatened.
he is he out next? Does he not play next season, or a good hunk of next season, or
I don't know what the extent, how long he would
Of course,
be.
the New York papers think he's going to New York.
But he's got one.
He's a
He's
free
definitely
agent
got one more year
after
with the
next
Celtics.
year.
Yeah,
Is that
I
right?
think I think he loves Boston. I'll be surprised.
Yeah, it sounds like he likes Boston, but hey, who knows?
So, David-
although I'm hearing he doesn't love the Globe. Does the Globe have an issue with him? Seems like I've seen a couple references to that.
I haven't seen that. David, I have a question, and I'm an expert in a lot of things, but medicine ain't one of them. Okay. Shea Weber, the best player on the horrible Montreal Canadiens. He got hit in the foot on a slap shot, very first game of the season.
First game of the season.
Yes. Hobbled until December 16th, until he cannot play anymore. Okay.
Oh, he's already played, so he played
Until
for
December
a couple
16th.
months?
So it's been almost literally 2 months.
Wow.
Yesterday, he goes under the knife to get his foot operated on.
Wow.
So I'm going to myself, he's out for 6 months, okay? So he should be ready for training camp. How much off-ice training he'll get, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, David, my question is, again, I'm no medical genius. Why couldn't they have performed that surgery like on December 17th and kind of pushed the calendar 2 months?
Well, I think probably what they do with all of these things, is they try to see if they'll heal on
I mean,
their own.
sometimes obvious, right? I mean, if you can
And-
avoid surgery, you avoid surgery.
And
I guess.
it probably just wasn't getting better. And finally they said, let's go ahead and fix it.
That's a good answer.
And-
Now, those stupid Canadians, David, I watch them every game,
not a good
rooting
year.
for a loss, and they've actually been playing okay.
They won 4-2
A
last
couple
night,
weeks
right?
ago, they had the third worst record in the NHL, and I was so excited. Can't wait for the June draft. We're going to
You're
get
going to Connor McDavid.
So, David, now we're the sixth worst team because we've been getting some points of late. And I don't know what management is thinking. They should be bringing up a bunch of kids from their AHL team, the Laval Rockets. They should be throwing the games right now, try to
Well-
lose on purpose, and try to get that third overall pick. So, well, fellas, 10 minutes to go.
Oh, I know what
And
I forgot.
golf.
Oh, I got one quick thing. The reason I wore my Texas A&M hat tonight was our own Ellie Purrier
Wow, really?
won the NCAA mile
Wow.
at Texas A&M
Oh, I texted
this last week, and she's just that kid is
What
something
about,
else.
say about 4:31 or something? Does
Yeah.
that sound right?
Which is really fast for an indoor mile.
So, David, we're a year and a half from the Summer Olympics.
Impressive.
I
She
think
has a
she's
chance?
a
What do you
player.
think?
Oh, absolutely.
It certainly sounds
Well,
like
she also
should be
ran.
good
She
now.
came in 14th in the 3,000 meter,
Wow.
which
she
is
won. But she won. She won the NCAA.
she's the
right?
NCAA champion.
in the mile. Wow, that's
And-
impressive.
and my
Franklin
point
County
is,
girl.
my point is, why didn't she go to UVM? What's the matter with
She
UVM?
ends up at UNH.
David, what's the difference between UVM and New Hampshire? I don't know.
Nothing.
Because UVM does have a great
Did
indoor
she
track.
get an athletic? Did she get some?
Oh, I'm sure she did, but UVM. Why does UVM year in and year out lose out on our best
All
in-state
right.
players?
I'm going to
Good
talk about
question.
my daughter. You talk about your kids.
question.
My daughter ended up in New Hampshire to go to college just simply because
They want to go.
they want to just get out of Vermont. No particular reason, just want to get out of Vermont. And I applauded her decision to get out of
Well,
Vermont.
I think UVM.
Now, your kids have been scattered all across the country.
Now, I think UNH, their track team, I think, is quite a bit better than UVM's. But if you have Ellie Purrier, you know how many people will go watch?
Oh, sure.
And it was just like we went through the same thing with Riley Wetmore from Swanton.
He ended up at Lowell and
He
had
ended
a
up at Lowell, captain of Lowell. You can't tell me if he's captain of Lowell, he can't play for
David,
UVM.
I would have told you this.
Yeah.
If Ellie Purrier went to UVM and you called me and said, Nighthawk, I'm going down to UVM, watch the track meet. Do you want to go? I would have went with
Yeah, I would have considered that.
you. Yeah.
And they have to do a better job of getting the best Vermonters. And this has been going on for 40 years.
Just attendance-wise, it might not be a bad idea to be thinking along those lines.
And they've
in part,
done the
right?
same thing.
Well, basketball. We certainly talk about this in basketball sometimes.
I still think they should have taken Matt Sanamore.
Matt Sanamore.
But
Yeah.
what do I know?
Yeah. I agree with you on a very good high school player, even though you take a flyer on him. And I'm telling you straight up right now, and I don't think I'm exaggerating, I think Sanamore would have had just as good a career at UVM as he did Middlebury.
yes, because the guy,
Because he had an outside shot. If you can shoot an outside shot, you can shoot it anywhere.
and all he needed to do is get bigger and stronger.
So, David, I've got 7 minutes exactly.
We
to
got
go.
we got to talk about something, and I owe somebody an apology. One of your probably biggest sports figures in the world. Tiger blew my mind. Tiger played some pretty
He's playing
good,
well.
good
He's
golf.
playing
So
because of me.
Tiger, because you got him playing more. But I just want to say I've certainly been on his case, and I would not have believed I would have seen such good golf out of this guy.
But David-
ever. I don't mean to say from one very good tournament or a couple. I'm not making him
He's
the
playing
the
pretty
favorite in
good.
the Masters, but that was a heck of a tourney. His putt on 17, he's 2 strokes back,
Yeah.
sinks a 44-foot putt, and makes a bid on 18.
He could have
but-
made a couple of putts on front 9.
Right.
And
So anyway, my like I said, I never thought I'd see that good golf from that guy again. And he seems like a kinder, gentler
He
guy.
seems
Maybe
better,
some of
yeah.
this is PR. I think maybe he's turned himself into a better
he's
person.
43 now. He's mature. But it always boils down to you don't have to research. putting. He played great, except for other than 17, he did not make any putts.
Are you talking about all the
18. He didn't play. He did not putt well.
Well, you know what he
about
was
the last day or in general for the tournament?
No, the last day he putted.
The last day
he didn't putt.
Well,
But
and
still, in
he
general,
said-
he hit the
played.
fairways.
Right.
Well,
in
what he
fact, on the
said-
18th, he was way away.
Yeah,
he
I
just
hit a
an
2-iron
iron.
or something. Well, on what he was saying though is the other days his irons were especially crisp. He really wasn't super sharp with his irons. He didn't have any 2-footers for birdies. They
were long.
putts. But you know, if he just
good
keeps the
golf.
ball in play and throws that driver, what I do is I take that driver and I break it. Because he can hit a 3-wood or a 2-iron, hit the ball because his iron shots are terrific.
And again, he's playing again, Huck, listening to you. He's playing at Bay Hill tomorrow. He's only won the Arnold Palmer 8 times.
Duke.
And I'm not saying he's going to win it, but boy, you'd think he
And
might
his
be in
chipping-
contention.
his chipping is super.
Listen to this.
Now,
Las Vegas odds on Bay Hill this weekend.
God, he's a favorite.
It's Tiger Hill 13-2.
Tiger Woods.
Okay, first time he's been a favorite since
that-
2014.
Again, I think that's jumping a little bit. I'm
But
not surprised to hear that.
Again, it's because of me. He watches the show. And if he can't watch it live, they'll DVR it. But I kept telling you for years, he get off the practice range and play with live bullets. And he realized that, and he's playing again.
Kudos to we haven't even mentioned the guy who won the tourney.
What a
Kudos
great,
to
nicest
Paul Casey.
guy
Was
in
a good. I like Paul Casey.
And he plays a European tour. That's why people don't know
good.
that
And
well.
boy, he did what Brandt Snedeker did, who had a good tourney except for the last round at Hilton Head at the Heritage. Brandt Snedeker won it about 8 years ago. He was about 5 strokes off the lead, played early, had a great round in the clubhouse. Just watching the guys, and Casey had a 65 on the last
Yes, he
day.
did.
Finished early, and watch everybody else not quite catch him.
And he doesn't play the PGA Tour that often.
He's
It's
he's
his
a very
second
good
win,
golfer.
but he's a great European golfer.
So kudos to Mr. Casey.
Yeah. So
I assume that the field at Bay Hill is an excellent field.
It's
I
a big
assume.
time field, yeah.
Dustin wasn't
No.
at the. And boy, Jordan Spieth. Wondering about Jordan. Jordan,
I haven't heard much of him.
You know what happened to
He
Jordan Spieth?
didn't make the cut.
Oh, really?
Hey, he played last
You know what
time.
happened to Jordan Spieth?
I don't.
Jordan Spieth had mononucleosis.
Oh, I didn't. I don't think I knew that. He did have
And
some downtime.
so he's just recovering from that.
I don't
That
think I
really
realized
beats
that.
you
Yeah.
up.
No, that's a good point. I didn't realize he had that issue.
Yeah.
But think
no,
about
he
it.
didn't make the cut.
Back-to-back weeks, you got Phil Mickelson win, you got Tiger coming
and
second.
Phil didn't play.
It's 1988 all over again.
Still playing at Bay Hill?
I don't think so.
Really, just not one of his.
Well, the first
horses.
2 weeks, there were a bunch of guys winning this year, like Ryan Moore, Austin Cook, Gary Woodland, Ted Potter
Gary
Jr.
Woodland, who's won before.
Okay, now the last 4 weeks, Bubba Watson, Justin Thomas, Phil Mickelson, and Paul Casey.
Yeah.
Now we're right back where
Tiger,
we belong. Now, one guy, Peyton Kazire, he's won twice.
Right.
this
Again,
year.
going back to the early wraparound season.
Right,
start.
he won November and he won in Honolulu.
Yeah, but he hasn't been anywhere near the.
I don't even know the
real
guy.
season doesn't start.
I agree.
Oh,
Till
Hawaii.
not even Hawaii. The real season doesn't start till
Masters.
till San Diego.
Yeah. Can you guys refresh my memory?
fine.
I'm looking
Forget
at the schedule, and
Although the second Hawaiian tourney is a full field.
Yeah, but it's
You went
still
to California.
And then they're just finally getting going right now.
all right, Duke, update me for next year. PGA, which is always played in August,
They're finally next year is when they make the big switch with the
moving to-
TPC.
it's moving to May,
Of
where
May.
the TPC
And the
is.
TPC moves up
Going
to
to
March.
Okay, good. Now, you heard me whine for like a year
Yeah.
because we're waiting for the Masters, but the TPC is a fun tournament
That's
to
a big
watch.
tournament.
It's a fun tourney with the
it's
best field of any
they call
tourney.
it
It
the
gets
fifth
everybody.
major. Okay, and I whined like I'm saying to him, like in May I'm either on vacation or I'm doing yard work, but I used to watch
Yeah,
the TPC religiously in March.
Next year's a switch.
So
That's great. You got TPC in March, Masters in April, PGA in May.
It's got the most
US
famous
Open in
hole
June.
in the world.
British Open in July, and then they were running into FedEx and stuff and Olympics and stuff. They just didn't. The PGA was starting to kind of run into things. I didn't have a problem with it being in August. I'll kind of miss nothing after the British
Because the
Open.
PGA's always been like the
the fourth major.
the litter, the big major.
Oh, absolutely. And the truth be told, the British Open is the Open. For historic
Championship.
purposes, to me, it should be the last major
Yeah, I guess you can make that case.
of the year. So,
Next year is the switch.
yeah, and we got 45 seconds to go, so it's almost a done deal. And I will say it's a done deal. Bruins and Toronto Maple Leafs in
Boy,
the
really?
first
That
round.
sounds like
that
a
is going
tough
to be
opponent.
a very interesting series. To
Boy,
say
the Bees
least.
came back from a 4-1 third period deficit.
Yes, they did. I mean, they've been so steady the whole year. Like even the last 10 games, Duke, they're still 7-3.
But Toronto's a good team.
They are. Are we almost out of time, Zach?
Yeah, I think.
Like wrap
think
it?
so, yeah.
Give me the old wrap,
That's
Christmas
accurate.
wrap time. So that is it. Almost ending our 15th.
Again, congrats, Hawk. Great job,
Congratulations,
buddy.
David.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Duke.
Dr. J, Leg, thanks a lot. You guys have done a great job.
Until next week, everyone, as always, remember, you do not have to be a great athlete to be a good sport. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Go Blue Devils. Go Dukies. Hang around for a while.